All right. Thank you. Thank you. CRP and Central. This is Dr. Fox. Please like, comment, subscribe. It helps the mission more than you know so that I can do more for you. Welcome to TrialSide Chats. Hey, May 4th. Happy Star Wars Day. Did you get your lightsabers out? May the 4th be with you always. And this is the clinical trial podcast you've been looking for. And I got to get my jokes out right away. So, for all of you out there who sent an invoice to CROs in February, guess what? When you can finally ask them, when are we going to get paid that money? You can sit there and say, it's going to be May. Okay, I'm done. I promise. Sorry about that. Let's get down to business before anyone who is actually watching starts to turn this off. So welcome to TrialSide Chats, the place for the CRPN community to come together to talk about the case studies, to talk about the challenges that we have in the industry, specifically with finance, so we can help each other. And let's face it, when we all work together here, patients can get access to research. We have the opportunity to do everything that we need to help them, and our sponsors succeed. And when our sponsors succeed, generations of patients have access to trials and technology that can save lives indefinitely for technology. So, morning, everyone. Rough week. How'd you do? We had to do gardening. So it's nice and springy outside. So all kinds of outside work that makes you sore. But whatever it is, I really appreciate you watching this and hope that maybe it can help you along the way. So full disclaimer, I am not a lawyer, never said I was a lawyer. And this is simply the culmination of experiences that have come together from sites around the world to help them navigate the chaos that we call clinical research. If you do need a lawyer, if you're looking for an attorney, or if you need help, Edie Edens, Edie Life Science Law, give Edie a call. Tell her Dr. Fox sent you. Tell her that she's an amazing lawyer, and I really do believe that she's doing a lot for our sites. So by continuing to watch this video, you have agreed to this disclaimer. And if you don't agree to this disclaimer, turn it off right now. I don't need the views. I would rather you be safe and confident in everything that you're doing in your industry. Okay, so the ground rules. And by the way, I call these ground rules, and they're on here because I fully hope that someone will be able to join me on TrialSide Chats sometime. So if you ever want to join TrialSide Chats, come on in. If there's a topic that you find to be interesting, let me know. We'll bring you into the mix, have a conversation, share your story. But I do ask that anyone who's joining TrialSide Chats to follow these rules. We will be talking anything finance. This is a very sensitive subject. It must be confidential, absolutely. That way, for it to be confidential, we're not going to name names. We're not going to name organizations. We're only talking about generalized concepts. And if we can talk about those things, we can target the best practices that can help our sites, sponsors, and CROs work together for the best industry possible. Icebreaker. So, sites out there, do your CRAs know their screen failure allowances? I'll say that again. Do your clinical research coordinators know their screen fail allowances? Well, what's a screen fail allowance? So a screen fail allowance is so that your coordinators know how many screen fails they are allowed to recruit for, they are allowed to accrue as a result of trying to screen patients. Do they know how many they're allowed to have before they do not get paid? So this is really important to talk to your CRCs about. Your CRCs are out there trying to recruit patients. They're working really hard, but it's very possible that they're recruiting for a study that's really, really super hard, and they're doing the work for free. They're not going to get paid for it. It's okay to show your CRCs how many screen failures your site will be paid for so that they can make conscious decisions about what they're doing. That's the whole point of a screen fail, everyone, so that the site has skin in the games. So CRCs, make sure that you know how to calculate screen fail ratios. Make sure you know what's in the contract. Are you going by caps? Are you not getting paid screen fails at all? Are you getting discounts? Are there screen fail tiers? It's important just as much to know your protocol as it is your screen fail allowances when it comes to your trials. So make sure if you're a site, share that information. It doesn't even have to be numbers. I know that a lot of sites they try to like not show their CRCs the numbers because their CRCs want raises. That's fine. This is all a ratio. Just let the CRCs know that they're either going to get paid for a screen fail or they're not. And then that will really help them to make the decisions that they need to maybe even choose a different trial. Like, let's say a patient is qualified for multiple trials. Well, okay, is this one going to pay for the screen fail if it's a screen fail? Or is this one just going to result in free work? It's okay to have that conversation with your CRCs, and it is not greedy to expect to get paid for services provided. I can't even believe that I have to say that on a podcast, but it's simply not. So, all right, we're going to cover the book today. So here's the book. There's my physical copy. If you want a physical copy, that QR code sends you straight to Amazon. You're welcome to buy it on Amazon. Or if you want to contact CRPN directly, happy to get it to you at 10% off and we'll give you free shipping. All right. So we've been through the whole gauntlet, everyone. We started with BD. We did the CDA. We did the feasibility. We are ready. We went through the PSSV. Sounds like the site did great. So all of a sudden, whoever it is that put their name on the list for the PSSV, you're going to get this email. This email is from a CRO, and they're going to say, congratulations on behalf of the sponsor and the CRO. We'd like to award you this trial. Yay! Award. Let's talk about this. So we're going to learn about the award today, and I really think it's important to note that the award itself is actually an artifact. If you want to talk about clinical research history, back in the day where clinical research was only a part of academia and colleges and universities, and it was kind of modeled off of like NIH grants where the government is going to quote award you money to do work. That's where you get award. And the name itself has stuck in the industry. But honestly, everyone, it's not an award, so to speak. Like these sites are not being given something out of consideration for work that they are not performing. This is just a bid. So you have gotten the contract, sites. Congratulations. You are now awarded the trial, which means that the sponsor or CRO has selected your independent contractor organization to perform services, specifically a trial, under a contractual basis. You got the contract. Congratulations, sites. So you're going to get this email, and depending on the CRO or the sponsor that you're going to get it from, it's going to come in a number of ways. One way or the other, you're going to get this thing that says, hey, congratulations, you got the award. But then it's going to be different based off of who you're working with on the next steps. The first one is, please fill out this contact information form. So that contact information form is going to be the CRO's communication plan to your site to get the right pieces of information to the right people. Now, sometimes the contact information form is filled out during the PSSV. It's very, very possible that the CRO already has this information, depending on the CRO who did the PSSV. But most of the time, it's going to be this is the time where you actually have business, where it's gotten real, where it's a potential. And so this is generally where they're going to get the contact information. After they say, please fill out this contact information, generally they're going to say, please answer these timeline questions. So it's the CRO's way of trying to understand how long it's going to take your site to complete startup activities. How long is it going to take you to do the contract? How long is it going to take you to do regulatory? Do you have to have the contract in place before regulatory? What's your timeline on logistics? All of these different things. So the CRO is going to try to get these questions answered to help them better plan and prepare how to prepare to work with your site. The one thing I should say is I very rarely fill out those pieces of information. Sometimes CROs push for it, but sites, you don't have to answer those questions. Sometimes you may not even know what the answers are going to be because you haven't laid eyes on the contract yet. You don't know how complex it is. You don't know how long the negotiation is going to be because you don't know what was originally offered to you. And honestly, is just filling a CRO database with information that you don't have to volunteer. It's okay. So sometimes CROs will push back on that, but I very, very rarely answer those startup timeline questions. Honestly, I would rather just go get the startup done, send it to them, and I just say, trust me, I'm not going to be your limiting factor on this. And finally, depending on how this goes, generally the award letter is going to have a regulatory packet attached to it. It's going to say, here's the regulatory packet. It's by packet, they mean it's a combination of the financial disclosure forms, the request for CVs, a 1572, everything that you're going to need to submit to the IRB is going to be in that regulatory packet. And they are going to ask your site to fill that regulatory packet out as soon as possible and get it submitted, because it takes about 30 days or so sometimes for a site to submit to a central IRB. And that regulatory packet is going to be super duper important for them. Here's the caveat. I'm not going to get into that soon, but you're going to see a trend over this whole podcast, and we'll get back to that. And then finally, depending on the CRO, they're probably going to say, hey, our finance team will be in touch soon to begin the negotiation process. That can happen in a number of ways. So it could be that some other CRO representative is going to be emailing whoever it was on that contact information form for contracts and budgets to start the negotiation process, which we'll have in another episode. But there are other opportunities to it. Sometimes they do attach the budget to this email with the reg packet, in which case the site will generally have to say, hey, please stop. Why are you sending sensitive financial information to everyone, including our coordinators? This has to be confidential between only a few of our stakeholders, because our coordinators are going to look at that and expect raises when they don't see all of the expenses, something like that. So you got to be careful with that. The other option, though, and this is another one you really got to watch sites, is they're going to sit there and say, hey, we're going to start the negotiation process. Please log into our negotiation portal. I would be careful with that. I have set policies in place with my sites where it's that negotiations and portals just don't happen. You're like, I'm sorry, that goes against site policy. Please email me the negotiation and we'll do it traditionally. There's a lot of sponsors and CROs that try to lock things into portals that they control, which is really, really important in negotiations, everyone, because the site's going to, if you do choose a portal and you log into that portal and you go through the whole negotiation process, you get 0 records as a result, which means you don't get to track the negotiation process. You don't have a way to save versions and identify what was different. Everything just goes into this sponsor portal ether, and you just have to kind of depend on the results. I have not yet had a site lose a trial because they push back and say, hey, we're not negotiating in a portal. We need to do it by email. I highly recommend that email is used. Now, I know all the techie people out there are going to be really mad at me for saying that, but mark my words, email is the universal language in the industry because everyone is in control of their own systems. Once you hand that control over to sponsors, whether it's for negotiations, payment remittances, sending invoices, whatever it might be, sites, you as independent contractors just lost your control. So thank you so much. We look forward to working with you. Okay, this right here, everyone, this is the handoff. Odds are that pre-study site visit, the CDA, all of that pre-study stuff from before, odds are that was a completely different team than the team that you are working with right now, which means your communication plan also has to change. This is going to be completely different CRO reps. They took it from site selection from their RFP team over into site startup. And then you have site startup, specifically, you've got a reg team, you've got an ops or an operation management team, and then you've got the negotiation team. All of these teams are likely different at very large CROs and sponsors, and all of these stakeholders are ones that you, the sites, are going to have to work with. And depending on the size of your site, I guarantee you, You're going to be the ones who are talking to each other where they are not. So keep that in mind. All right. So this is from the book and is a little further earlier back, but it was page 39. But I think it's a perfect example of what we're doing here with award. So that email that triggers everything, that is your award email. That email separates into two different pathways. So you've got a legal and finance pathway, and then you've got a regulatory pathway. Now, the regulatory pathway generally starts with the email. All of the stuff you need for regulatory is normally in that award email. Legal finance, however, is different. So, most of the time, what you're going to do is you're going to get an email from this award letter. And then it's going to say, by the way, our finance team, our contract negotiation team will be contacting you soon. So the information that you need for legal finance is not often in that award email. But that doesn't mean that things can't get started. So in regulatory, you're going to get your email, which is your notice. You're going to prepare your IRB documents. You're going to complete and submit, and then you're going to activate the site in that order. So by activate the site, we'll go into that later. That's like a green light. We're going to go from there. Complete and submit. After complete and submit, the next step, maybe after a couple steps with the IRB questions, some clarifications, you're going to have the IRB saying, okay, your submission is approved. So over on legal finance, it's different. So you get the award letter, you're waiting. Finally, you get hopefully an email. Hopefully it's not going to be this invite to a portal that you shouldn't be using. Hopefully it's an email, and it's going to say, hey, congratulations, here's an offer. The offer is going to be in a number of different ways, but essentially it's a contract, a legal document that you have to review as the offer, and then a budget. The budget is normally in like an Excel spreadsheet of sorts in an email, but sometimes it can be baked into the actual contract depending on the sponsor CRO. So you have this offer. You take this offer, the site reviews it and redlines it. They do an offer here and there. They'll counter it to the sponsor. The sponsor will look at it, send in a second offer, and it goes from reviewing and redlining to countering and back until finally there's an approval. And after the approval, it goes through finalization. You have a clean document. It gets routed for signatures. Bam. As soon as everyone signs it, you've got a fully executed CTA. And here's the kicker, everyone. That whole process, it needs to be done on the legal level before you submit your regulatory documents. Now, before all of the I want to be competitive sites go to try to shoot me for saying that, I really need to note that experienced sites will get burned if they submit regulatory prior to having an approved budget. You do not want to have sunken cost syndrome where you're like, well, we put all this work in regulatory, we're just going to take it no matter what and get the startup. That's not healthy. You do not want to have to do free work to rescind your document from the IRB if a contract is not signed. And you want to make sure that a fully executed agreement date, an effective date, fully covers your IRB approval date. In no way, shape, or form should you have a stamped IRB approval date that is not in scope of your CTA. With that said, one of the number one questions that are asked on that whole feasibility site question timeline thing is, can or does your site submit to the IRB before a contract? So sponsors and CROs are aware of this. I guarantee it, because there are sites out there that are like, we want to be competitive. We want to get the IRB in place. We'll talk about the contract later. It happens, and it shouldn't. It absolutely shouldn't. And I do strongly discourage sites from that practice. All right. Coming from Ryan. Ryan's coming in saying, great info, Daniel. First time joining TrialSide chats. Ryan, welcome, man. I know you're in the industry. If we're ever in a topic that you're interested in and you want to join TrialSide chats, please let me know and we'll get you on. All right. So this goes back. I probably should have had this slide up when I was talking about this, but if you have the book right here, you're going to have a series of these really cool little teal looking boxes that say best practice alert. Weed, best practice alert, best practice alert. So this is one of the best practice alerts. It's on page 52, and it says experienced and financially responsible sites do not submit startup documents to the IRB without a minimum of verbal assurance that a CTA and budget are approved. Sure, if you are approved and you're just going through the process of finalization and cleaning, and you know that odds are that you are going to get the trial, tell them, okay, you know what, just as a formality in good faith, we'll go ahead and at least get the IRB approval started while we route the contract for signatures. You're still going to get a fully executed CTA before IRB approval, and you're going to start that clock with the central IRB. So it's, about a month in time so that they can come through and get you the approval that you need. So, all right, so that was the end of the lessons for the day. So welcome everyone. If this is your first time to TrialSide Chats, Ryan. So just so you know, about the first 15 to 20 minutes is actually going over something in the book, a concept in the book for the industry. And then the rest of it is in a case study way. So a lot of these are questions that are coming to me from sites, comments from sites asking for advice, things that we should do. And this is the open discussion. So if you see anything on here that really inspires you, please feel free to type in the comments. This is meant to be a community discussion, not just Dr. Fox talking to a microphone. All right, so I got this the other day. This is very interesting because there's some nuances in the language in a lot of these contracts. But someone said, "What's the best way to negotiate IND safety reports?" Well, the first and foremost is an IND safety report. If any sites out there are saying, "Wow, I didn't know I could bill for that," pay attention to your contract sites. Seriously, because if you didn't know that was on your radar, you may really want to look at your contract. So IND safety reports are SUSARs. So the reports that the sponsor sends out to you that says, "Hey, we have these SUSARs that we need to be processed. We're going to have them signed. They have to be routed for signature. We have to have them filed." That's a lot of work on you sites, internal work. You're going to have to sit there and take regulatory documents or even sponsor documents that are sent to you. You're going to have to review them. You're going to have to get your PI to sign them. You're going to have to file them away, and you're going to have to represent them during monitoring visits. So it's a substantial amount of work for anyone out there doing SUSARs. And yes, you can get paid for them. There are, however, certain sponsors that have limitations on these. So one of the number one things that I see, and I get it, but they say that it's only the initial report, because when you start looking at SUSARs, you're going to be seeing that there's like follow-ups after follow-ups reports. Some of the sponsors will sit there and say, "Well, it's only the initial reports that we're gonna pay for. We're not going to pay for any of the follow-ups." That's fully up to you sites on how you want to accept that. Maybe depending on how the contract goes, you might have been able to get support in elsewhere in other places. But the one that really gets you, and this is the one you really want to stay away from, are the ones that expect you to do like the first 50 for free, or they expect you to invoice them in chunks. Like, we're only going to pay you in increments of 50, or we're only going to do that. So you're risking doing a lot of free work when you agree to do IND safety reports with these kinds of provisions. The other thing you got to watch out for IND safety reports is the limits. Sometimes sponsors will sit there and say, "Well, we're only going to pay $2,500 worth of IND safety reports at $50 a piece," or something like that. Depending on the length of the trial. Like, let's say you have like a 3 to 5 year trial, you're probably going to get through those, and then you're just going to be doing the rest of them for free. So be real careful when it comes to these IND safety reports, not only with initial versus follow-up safety reports, but also with caps and limitations. Caps meaning, well, the first 50 are free. We're only going to pay for all of the reports after 50, all the way to saying, well, we're only going to pay up to this amount, all the way to we're only going to have this specific dollar amount cap for IND safety reports. you're asking for trouble. And the one thing I can say is I guarantee you sponsors will be very, very unlikely to allow you to renegotiate a contract because of IND safety reports. So no pressure, but you've got to get it done right the first time. The other thing to consider is the provisions on an IND safety report may be uh, associated with the therapeutic area. So, for example, if you have oncology trials, IND safety reports, you might have to have some looser provisions because you're probably going to be doing a lot of work around there. Whereas if you have something like a blood draw study or something that's not as risky, you could probably accept some better provisions because odds are it's not going to be that much of a problem. All right. All right. I got this one and I'm feeling the pain here. So it's getting harder and harder to get payment details from CROs. What is happening? CROs, if you're watching this, what the heck is happening here? I mean, we had a system down, it was working, and then all of a sudden things are just going nuts out there. And by nuts, I mean, this has always been a problem. And I thought we were coming to a solution, but sites are getting random bank deposits without any notifications at all. Like, I don't know what this is for. How am I supposed to remit this to a trial? I don't know if there's, you tell me. All the way to now, it's portal blocking, portal walling something. So it's, hey, log into the portal, do self-serve. We control the portal, by the way. The CRO, we control the portal, by the way. And so if you have staff turnover or something like that, you're going to have to come to us and fill out a bunch of documents and get access to the portal. We can revoke the portal at all times and you lose access to your financial information. So there's the whole portal thing again. But I've seen a major, major push, an insistence, in fact, of CROs who are saying if you don't come into our portal, you don't get access to this information as an independent contractor. Oh, by the way, it doesn't matter if you use QuickBooks. We just expect you to do double entry into our portal if you want things to happen. So I'm really, really concerned, everyone, about how hard it is getting to get payment detail from CROs in a way that sites can control. And I'm going back to the universal language of email. It's been tricky. So, sites out there, have you had a problem getting payment details from CROs? And if you have, how in the world are you managing this? Are you just kind of like saying, whatever, I'll just apply the payment to anything? Just I'm kind of guessing. Do you have a special communication pathway? What is working? Because I'm kind of at a loss with this person. What in the world is working? I mean, I don't understand this. And here, hi, Ryan. Ryan, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show. So Ryan says, I totally agree on the difficulty in getting payment details from CROs. It shouldn't be this hard. Yeah, I agree, Ryan. This is crazy. And Ryan, thanks so much. I look forward to future sessions with you too. Let us know if we can do it. Let us know if you want to come on. So let me know. If you're out there, give me a comment, send an email. I don't know, do a carrier pigeon, but let me know what's going on with the payments from the CROs. In all sincerity, I'm really, really worried about this one too, especially if they're trying to push sites to portals. And I hope that that's not happening. I hope that sites, if you're listening to this, please, while you still can, help us to change the industry in a way that's fair for you. Insist on email. Please insist. Do not let your financial systems be harnessed by a system that a sponsor controls or a CRO. Please, pretty please. We all have to change this. This isn't just one voice. This is something that everyone's going to have to do. Otherwise, this industry is going to be in trouble. And I'll tell you that right now. All right. So the final one here. Hey, if anyone is out there watching, how would you respond to this email? So you got the award letter. It's been a little bit of time, a couple weeks, and all of a sudden you get an email. And it says, hey, site reg team. Hey, I'm just following up. What is the status on that reg package? Please submit it as soon as possible. Thank you very much, CRO reg team. Anyone out there? I see there's 4 viewers on here. So if you've been listening to the show, how in the world would you respond to this email? And I did notice that there's a little bit of a lag between the streaming service that we're using here and LinkedIn. So if I go to that last page before I give you all a chance, then you're not going to see it. So I'll be on here for just a little bit longer, waiting for a comment. And if not, we're going to move on to the next one. It's not a big deal. But I guess the thing about the award that I really should stress is it's not an award. It's not an award. So the work has only just started. And sites, you are working with major global companies who have entire armies of people who are trying to get this thing up and running across multiple sites nationwide. And you are probably talking to each other. Like you may be in the same building with your entire group. How's my reg team doing? How you may be doing weekly calls, weekly trial startup calls, whatever. You're going to be talking with the reg team. You're going to be talking with the ops team, negotiators. You're going to be talking. CROs are not. So the person who sent this email, that CRO reg team, they may have some kind of a study team that they're talking amongst each other, but on a day-to-day basis, they're saying, hey, send that reg package as soon as possible. But guess what they're not doing? They're not going to their negotiation team and saying, hey guys, how's that negotiation going? Let us know. And then once it's done, then we can send this follow-up thing. This follow-up email should not be happening if the CRO reg team was talking to their negotiation team. And if they are, that's a whole other layer of crazy. All right, so 33 minutes, right on time, generally average 35 minutes. Thank you so much for watching TrialSide Chats. If you want to come on, let me know. There's the website, which you're going to see some updated information on the website, specifically with the textbook and the publication that's just coming out. LinkedIn, YouTube, and if you want to join TrialSide Chats or you want to send comments on TrialSide Chats, let's say you want questions answered, send me a message. I'm all over the internet. I'm all online. Please feel free to send your messages in. I'll be happy to get them into the show. I am not going to the site next week, everyone. I'm going to be home 2 weeks in a row. So I expect to see you all back here next week. And we just covered awards. So where do you think we're going to go? I predict that after the award, we're not going to go into the whole regulatory submission part. However, it's time to negotiate. So next week, probably multi-part sections on the negotiation process itself. Get ready because, of course, that's my bread and butter. That's the one that I know it through and through. I've probably negotiated more trials than a lot of people have in their careers at this point. Who knows? They just keep coming. So on that note, my ask. I see 3 people watching. I appreciate you watching here. If you have any negotiation questions specifically about the negotiation, please feel free to send them in because this is going to be probably some of the most important TrialSide chats that we're going to be running from now. We're finally getting into it. So this is Dr. Fox. Please like, comment, subscribe, share your voice. I'll see you next time.